Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, Oklahoma, Bangalore, Fort Salvador, Alabama, Tocqueville, Barranquilla, Amarillo,
There it is. I know some of this is going to disappoint a lot of you, but this is the last week that I get to get that stuck in your head for the rest. Some of you were thrilled, but somebody was clapping along. Mark was clapping along that time. He was just starting to get into it. It's been a good opener for what this series has been all about. Wherever you've been, wherever you are, you can trust that God has been there. If you want to look at any of the previous couple of sermons that we've had in this series, Tim Landefeld has started us up a YouTube channel. And so you just go to YouTube and you type in Jefferson City Christian, and you'll have a bunch of options, but at the very top it should be the option to click on a channel. And you can click on our channel, and any of the videos that you see during the service, any of the videos that we make of the sermons, those are available right there. You can share them with friends and that sort of thing, and so I encourage you to check that out if you want to know any of the other things that we've been talking about throughout this series. Now, before I get into today's topic, I will say once again, I try to say it each week that I'm up here, I'm not the one who normally preaches here. My father, Bob Everett, is the one who is the senior minister, but he announced at the end of last year that he would retire from the preaching ministry at the end of 2017, and so throughout this year, he's scaling back a bit. Luke and I are taking on some more responsibilities throughout this year to help with the transition, and we've had a blast doing it. I appreciate you guys keeping coming back week after week to listen to us deliver these messages. So today, what are we going to be talking about? We're talking about this idea of God has been there. Therefore, there's some comfort knowing that whatever we're going through, He's been there, and there's some wisdom and a way forward. Well, here's the deal. Here's what I want to do. I think that today, like last week, it's a topic that most of us can relate to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some phrases up on the screen. And if you have thought any of these phrases, any version of these phrases in your life, then this is going to be a topic that probably relates to you. Okay, here's the first phrase. My family
sorry, John.
puts the fun. Oh, no, it's a song. Take my life. That's a good song, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'll go ahead and say it, and then when we get there, we get there. There it is. My family puts the fun in dysfunction. Anybody? Thought any version of that? Maybe you can't share that right here in front of them, but if you thought any version of that, your family kind of makes an art out of being just a little bit dysfunctional. How about this other statement right here? I could be a YouTube star if I just record my family holidays and reunions. Anybody had that thought? You got aunts fighting over here. Mom, I saw that. Did you mean like this? Got uncles drinking too much over here. Cousin Eddie showing off all his illegal firearms to the kids. I mean, some of you are like, yeah, that was Thanksgiving. Right? It is true. And how about this last one? I have considered breaking off relationships because I don't want them to meet my family. Have you been there? That's kind of a rough way to go. It could be a long time. It's the truth. I think it's something we can all sort of relate to. Maybe not to those extreme levels, but at some point we can sort of relate to that. And here's what's funny. A few years ago, there was this term that was talked about a whole lot. It was the term that I kind of mentioned up there, this idea of dysfunctional families. And what was so funny about that term is the assumption is that there's normal families, right? The assumption is that there's like these healthy, perfect families, and if you're not one of those, then you're a dysfunctional family. And the more that they looked into this, they realized, you know what, there is no normal. Everybody has got, to some degree, a little bit of dysfunction in their families. Now here's the thing. That is just confirming something our faith already holds to be true, right? I mean, think about it. Our faith holds it to be true that there are no perfect people, right? Our faith holds that to be true. We say things like we've all made mistakes. The way the Bible puts it, everyone has sinned, right? We hold this to be true. Therefore, it stands to reason that if you put a bunch of imperfect people together in this group we call family, there is no way that thing is perfect, right? There is no way that could possibly be perfect. And so we're going to look at some of the wisdom that there is. Now, some of you might be looking at me saying, well, John, the Emirates are pretty great. I mean, y'all are pretty functional as a family, right? I wish you could have been a fly on the wall with some of my sister's fights in high school. It was unbelievable. It was like cats and coyotes and vampires all mixing it up. Even if you couldn't have seen it, if you could have only heard it, you would know that we had our own little version of stuff in our families. You may be thinking, well, the Bible, surely in the Bible, there's some kind of healthy family, right? There's some kind of pattern for us to follow. No. Look really hard, you might find one decently okay family that we don't know too much about. But it starts off with a brother killing another brother. And then it's just varying stages of awful. after that. But here's the good news. Here's the good news that I want to talk to us about. And the reason this is good news. Because what we've been saying all along, people have been there. Therefore, God has been there. And if God has been there, then there's some wisdom for us. There's something we can talk about. Now, before I get into the meat of what we're going to be discussing, I need to make a couple of disclaimers. First of all, when you start opening up the idea of family, you've got to narrow in when you've only got one sermon. Because, this could be like a whole year of sermons on family and all of the wisdom that there is in the Bible. So what you're getting today is just a little fragment. It's just a little something to maybe cause some conversation in your family. So I recognize that it's a fragment. The second thing that I want to mention to you is it's limited because it's coming from me, okay? I recognize that. I've only got 13 years. My oldest child is 13, so I've only got 13 years leading the family, okay? Being part of this family that is my own. So that fragment that you're going to get today is filtered through somebody who is somewhat limited. I get that, so have some grace for me on that. But here's the thing that I also want you to know. Probably going to talk about some stuff today that everyone in here has experienced. Even if you're not leading a family, even if you're not even married. If you're not married, you don't have kids, you've experienced family, your own family. And maybe some of the stuff we're going to talk about today can help maybe process, to maybe help have a conversation or some thinking about what you've experienced and also a way forward. Some wisdom for the relationships in your lives now and in the future. So that's some of the stuff that I want to talk about. The way that I'm going to tackle it is this. I'm going to give a word to dads, and then I'm going to give a word to moms. So I got to be really careful there because I'm not a mom, but I'm going to give a word to our moms, and then I'm going to give a word to all of us as children, all of us with some kind of experience. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. If you want to open up your Bibles, the first verse that we're going to look at is in Ephesians chapter 6. This is that letter that Paul wrote to the Ephesians. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. This idea that he wanted to help them understand how to get along in their culture. He started with these big ideas. And then he made it really, really practical. And this is one of the things from the practical part of that letter. He writes this in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. He said, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." I want us to zero in. I wish the Bible came with speed bumps because it is so tempting for us to just fly through some of these verses, some of these parts that are so incredibly important. This first part, fathers, do not exasperate your children. That's a word that maybe you don't use a whole lot. The word exasperate, some of your Bibles may have something like embitter. It's translated in different ways. But what the idea behind this word is, don't cause this immense frustration and lack of clarity and lack of understanding. These standards that are impossible to meet, don't cause all this to go on in your child. Now here's the deal. This was incredibly revolutionary at this time. I want you to think about this at this time. Paul was onto something, and he was way ahead when he writes this, or I guess the Holy Spirit through Paul was way ahead. Because at this time, women and children were valued just barely above pets, just barely above the livestock. That's the way it was in this culture. So the idea that some of you are looking at each other like, see, it's still the same way. Here's the deal. It was so revolutionary in this culture for him to say, I want you to think about what you're causing in your children. I want you to think about their feelings. I want you to think about how they are hearing you. That was huge back then, and you know what? It's still that way today. It's amazing that 2,000 years later, we can look at our families and we can say this is still what Paul wrote back then, a profound teaching for fathers. And I think there's some very natural causes for that, because ever since then, this pattern has sort of existed, okay? Follow me for just a second. This is just the reality of the situation. I'm going to make some generalizations, like I said, so just bear with me because we're zeroing in on the topic of family. But this is a natural thing that happens. Guys, when the baby is born into the family, you are automatically 9 months behind mom on connecting with this child. Automatically. That's just by design. That is natural. But here's the thing. You spend the next few years still a little behind. Because either physically or just naturally through the connection that is there, mom forms a special relationship in those early years. And so dad is coming in, and the kid's looking at you like, okay, who's this guy that shows up every once in a while to change my diaper, right? And as the years go on, he said, okay, who's this guy that shows up every once in a while to eat with us and sleep here and then go again? These are natural things. These are things that happen in families. But here's what this leads to. This leads to us, guys, having to earn our identity. We have to earn our identity. So everything that comes out of your mouth has to be translated, and it's seen a little bit differently by your children. So here is the truth that I want you to grab from this message that Paul has to us. It's this right here. Dad, your words are heavy. Your words are heavy. I heard one preacher say it like this. He said, Mom, your words are about 25 pounds. Dads, your words are about 500 pounds. Because there's a lot of interpretation. There's a lot of trying to understand who you are that's going on in that child's life. And we've got to recognize the weight of what we say. So what I want to do is I just want to give you 3 quick suggestions to try to help us talk about this, to try to help you process this just a little bit, okay? This first one comes from the world of construction and do-it-yourself. Measure twice, cut once. How many of you have said that before? Y'all have said this before. Measure twice, cut once, right? You got this piece of wood, you got this piece of tile. You don't want to ruin that piece of wood or tile, and so you measure twice and you cut once. So here's the deal. Your identity with your children is so much more valuable than that piece of wood. So much more valuable than that piece of tile. And so what I want you to do is I want you to translate that idea to your words with your child. Before you say something, you stop and think, how is this going to be perceived? To what end does this comment lead? I know what I'm trying to say. Is this the best way to say it? You measure twice before you cut with those words. And I want to give this wisdom to you because I know from my past there are things I wish I could take back. There are things I came in, Brooke and the kids, she's lovingly trying to point something out to them and they're processing it and they're going through. And I'm in the other room, not even connected, but I'm getting frustrated. So I walk in, I was like, no, this is over. You're going to do this, you're going to do this, it's over, goodbye. And I walk out. I've done things and I've said things that I've thought, man, I wish I could have handled that differently. Now, there might be some of you who are saying, no, man, John, my kids just got to toughen up. I mean, I just got to say what I got to say. Somebody's got to come in there and make a decision and say it and be direct. My kids got to get tough. Here's the thing. It's a whole lot tougher to be discerning about your words than it is to let whatever comes to your mind fly out of your mouth. Strength is in discernment and wisdom. So let's be tough. Let's be disciplined. Let's measure twice and cut once. Here's the second thing that I want to offer up to you is this idea of let's listen to the others in our household. Let's listen to the others in our lives because they're the ones who have to listen to you. They're the ones who have to hear us, and they'll give us cues. My wife is great about saying just directly, John, that was a little harsh. She'll just come out with it, and I appreciate that, and I have to deal with it. Sometimes you might not have somebody in your life who's that direct and that clear with you, so you got to interpret, okay? If the pillow is laying out in the hallway when you come up to go to bed, that's a sign. You probably aren't measuring twice, okay? But sometimes there's stuff that's so clear, man. We see those tears start to well up. And I know there are certain things that we have to say that are going to cause some tears. I mean, I've caused a bunch of tears. I know that. But listen to it. And proceed with caution and clarity and wisdom, okay? Listen to others because they have to listen to you. And this is the third thing I want to say before I move on. Third thing I want to say is this idea, silence can be just as damaging. When I say your words are heavy, I'm not saying don't use them. I think they're heavy on purpose. So much of what happens in our children's lives, in the way that things develop, the natural relationship that is built with their mom, the dad having to earn his identity, I think this is natural. I think there's a reason our words are heavy. I think that that's good, but they're not worth anything. They weigh nothing if we don't use them. And so that can be some of our temptation, is to scale back so much on this that we become irrelevant in our kids' lives. So I want us to realize your words are heavy, but they're heavy for a reason. Use them, but be discerning, because Paul gives us a great truth. We do not want to exasperate our children, but we want to bring them up in the instruction of the Lord, okay? Let me turn my attention to moms. This is where I got to be careful, okay? Here's what I do. When I'm going to say something to women, I always run it by some women the week before to get their take on it. And here's the deal. It's never my wife. She said, John, I really just want to hear your sermon for the first time on Sunday. Really, I think she doesn't want any responsibility for what I might say here from the stage. But I do. I run it by and I try to get some feedback on this. And I think what I'm getting ready to say is true. And actually, they help me a whole lot in saying this. Here's something that I want to say just right out of the gate. Moms, women in general, the expectations on you in this world are unreasonable. They are not right. It's too much. It's too much. You've got to be everything, right? Perfect mom, perfect wife, perfect worker, perfect volunteer, pillar in the community, all of these different things. You got to be all of this stuff. You got to bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan, right? We say that, but these days it can't be regular old bacon. It's got to be organic, non-GMO fed pigs, low sodium bacon, right? Because you got that weight on you too. And if you fry it up in a pan, it better not have any Teflon because you're going to get cancer to all your family, right? And then after you bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan, you better not let it touch your lips because heaven forbid you gain an ounce, right? You got all of these expectations and all of this weight that is laid upon you. And I'll just tell you it's not right. And this is what I've seen. And I've seen it over and over again in families, okay? I see that weight on your shoulders becomes a seed or a kernel of anger. Just a little bit of resentment for all this stuff that you got to bear in your life. And there's a reason why the scriptures tell us to don't let the sun set on your anger. I heard this one man put it this way, that there is a pattern that can be started. It starts with anger. You go to bed angry, guess you're going to wake up cold. It starts off as angry, and then it gets cold, where you might do the right things, you might say the right things. Here's the breakfast, I'm going to make it, I love you, goodbye, have a great day. But there's a little lost authenticity to it. Go to bed angry, you wake up cold, and the next step is, if you keep that coldness and you don't deal with it, you kind of hard. Where those walls start to go up in the home. They even go up outside of the home in your relationships, where you start to build those things up because you're so consumed and you're so frustrated with what can be going on. You go to bed angry, you wake up cold, it gets hard, and then the scariest part of all is this. This is where there's so much worry and fear, is you become apathetic. That emotional connection that was so natural in the beginning with your kids, you start to lose, and you start to not be able to care about the people that are in your lives. This is scary stuff, right? And I think that so much of it is because of the weight that we put on the women and the moms in our lives. But this is the thing I want you to hear, and this is where I get in trouble. But I talked to somebody about it, it's true. Okay? Read this from the book of James. James, Jesus' brother, writes a bunch of practical stuff in his book, and he writes this: what causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You desire, but do not have, so you kill. He wasn't talking about literal killing. He was talking about sort of a figurative thing where you kill off relationships. You kill the people in your life just through ignoring and neglecting and fighting. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and you fight. This is what I want you to hear. When I was laying this out to some friends of mine, they said, John, you're right. There are expectations, but there was also this consensus among them. There are too many expectations. However, most of that comes from ourselves. Most of that comes from what we expect of ourselves. That's a tough thing to say and to recognize, but that's why when James writes this and he talks about the tension that can be in our lives, it can be in our homes, it can be in our relationships, he doesn't drive it back to all these outside pressures. He doesn't drive it back to all of these outside things going on. He says, deal with what's going on inside of you. And so this is what I want to offer. The only one who can manage those expectations is you. Now you might be saying, John, great. Now you're not going to deal with all those expectations, and now you expect me to manage those expectations. You're just throwing a little more expectation on me, and that can be hard, and that can be overwhelming. But the reality is you're the one who has to control those expectations that are placed in you. You have to deal with the desires that are going on inside of you so that you can manage the tension that can be in your family and in your relationships. Now, to start to get at this, I just want to offer you a quick little question. Just a quick little question that you can ask yourself. And it's this: what's best for this season? What's best for this season of my life? If you got kids that you're chauffeuring here and there, and you're trying to work a little bit, and you're trying to volunteer a little bit, this might not be the season that you're going to be the pillar in the community and do all sorts of great stuff. You might have to say, you know what, there'll be a time for that. That could be later. You might be there, but you know what I see so often in people's lives is actually they get to another season, But they're looking back, and they're longing for a season before. And they don't realize the opportunities that they have in this new season of their lives. What's best for this season? I know my wife doesn't want to take responsibility for anything I say, but I've got to quote her here, because she said something. This was long ago. She said this when we were talking about this, and I thought, that's good. I've got to write it down and remember it. She said, I can't give my all to everything, but I can give everything I've got to something. I can't give my all to everything, but I can give everything I've got to something. I just want to mention to you guys, if you feel that resentment for all that you're expected to be starting to build up inside of you, don't let it become cold, hard apathy for the people in your lives. Sit back and decide, okay, here's what I can be in this season, and then be clear about it to the people in your lives. Because I believe James is right. As he gives us this passage, I believe so much of the tension and the quarreling that comes about, especially in our homes, is from stuff going on inside of us. It's not all of those things on the exterior. Yes, they can contribute. We can quell it by dealing with what's going on inside of us. Now, I want to say something to everyone here. Maybe you were someone who had one of those dads, who maybe didn't measure twice, and he just kind of said whatever came out of his mouth, or maybe he was on the other end of the spectrum to where he didn't say much at all. And there's some wounds and there's some stuff that you've got to work through. Or maybe you had one of those moms. Maybe some of you had one of those moms that were trying to deal with all the incredible expectations that are going on in their lives. They were dealing with the tension that's happening. And so you've kind of started to feel like you were just maybe an obstacle to their happiness. Every single one of us has some bit of something going on in our lives. Like I mentioned before, no family is perfect because no person is perfect. So you might be asking, what's a way forward? What's some help for this that I have to deal with? There's a pop singer named John Mayer. He's a great guitarist, and so I like a lot of his music. And he's written this song in his latest album called In the Blood. And he asked these questions about family. He said, how much of my mother has my mother left in me? How much of my love will be insane to some degree? And then in the second verse, he asks about his dad. He says, how much of my dad am I destined to become? Will I dim the lights inside me just to satisfy someone? And then his last verse starts about his brothers. He says, how much like my brothers do my brothers want to be? Does a broken home mean another broken family? We've all got some of this, some version of this stuff going on in our lives. We maybe wonder what the way is forward. Before we go, I want to point you to a little thing that Jesus did that I think is so helpful. It might be kind of a big idea. It might be kind of abstract, but I think it's very helpful. It's something to get you started thinking. Jesus had some people in his life who didn't like him. He had some teachers who were jealous of his popularity, and so they would often bring these questions to him, and they would hope that he would give an answer that was a bad answer or an unpopular answer. And so they would often bring him these questions about really messy things, difficult things. And the one that I'm going to talk about is messy. It's a difficult thing. But don't turn me off if you've had this in your life, because there's a really important lesson here. So don't switch me off, okay? They bring to him the issue of divorce. And they say to him, hey, is it lawful for a man to send his wife away in divorce? Now, they phrased it like that because the laws at that time cared nothing for women and children. And so the man could do pretty much anything he wanted and just send them off. If you burned the toast, you're out of here, okay? It was one of those kind of societies. So that's why they asked the question that way. But I want us to look at Jesus' answer, okay? Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 through 8. It's going to be a little bit longer. We're going to read through this for us. Jesus answers. He says, haven't you read? He replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they're no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Well, the teachers speak up at this point. They're like, wait. Why then, they asked, did Moses command that a man give his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away? And then Jesus replies, he says, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts were hard. But it was not this way from the beginning. Jesus addresses the topic. He goes on to give a pretty hard teaching regarding divorce, but I want us to stop right here and look at what Jesus was able to do, because he did this all the time. He had this amazing ability to never condemn anyone for the very real, often messy stuff going on in their lives. He had the ability to never condemn and draw people to himself. We've said it before from the stage that the people who were the least comfortable around religious people were the most comfortable around Jesus. He had this way of doing this. And at the same time, he had the ability to never stop reminding people of God's ideals. These things seem like they're intention, but he had this amazing way of holding them together and saying, you know what? I acknowledge and I don't condemn you for the very real, for the very difficult, often messy stuff going on, but I also, at the same time, am going to never let go of the ideal. And so how does that help us when we start thinking about family, when we start thinking about marriage, when we start thinking about our relationships? Well, guys, we acknowledge that there's very real stuff in our pasts. But at the same time, we need to recognize that there are ideals, that God has wisdom for a way forward, and we can keep encouraging each other and pointing each other forward. Acknowledge what's real, but never let go of the ideal. You see, when Jesus died on the cross, he took away all of those mistakes, all of those imperfections. He said, that is not going to come between you and God. I'm taking it away. I'm showing you how great his love is for you. And something else he did is he invited everyone to a new family. Because that is taken away, God wants to be your father. God wants to show you a way forward. And in this family, Jesus never condemned anybody for what was real, for what was going on, what was often messy. But he also kept pointing them toward the ideal. He kept pointing them for a way forward. And what I want to say to you is this: whatever it is you've got in your past, whatever very real messy stuff you have, if you're someone who was hurt tremendously and wounded deeply by your father, I want you to say, you are invited. You're invited to the new family. If you were someone who kind of felt like that, maybe just sort of that appendage to your mom, and you didn't maybe have that kind of love and affection, you didn't have that warmth and that nurturing, and you were maybe made to feel like an obstacle to her happiness, and you've got some stuff that you need to deal with in your lives because of that, I want you to say, you're invited. If you are someone who maybe throughout your life has caused some of those wounds, you are not condemned. You are invited. You are invited to be part of this family. And we'll be a family that keeps coming back together and keeps accepting and not saying that you don't belong because you don't measure up. But we're also going to be a family that every time we get together, we're going to point to God's ideal. We're going to say there is a way he expects dads to act. There is a way to deal with the warring going on in your heart that's causing the tension in your home. He's going to say, I do have an ideal for marriage. And we're not going to let go of those things. And we're also not going to let go of you. So if you've never known this family, as we sing this song, I offer you the opportunity to give your life to this family. I hope that you have heard that our God wants you to be part of the family. Therefore, he's given you wisdom. Everything you've been through, everything you're going through, he's been there. And he'll be there for you. So I ask that you stand with me, sing this song.